Have you ever been parallelized? Happy hobby. I'm David Gonos. If you're a sports car collector and you're working on a limited budget, that's what we do here. That's what we do with this podcast and this video channel at David Gonos on YouTube. That's what we do. The Happy Hobby Sports Card Podcast is all about helping sports car collectors improve their card collection without using a lot of money. Today's episode is a little different. We're talking about going back in time a little bit, collecting things you wouldn't have thought about collecting maybe necessarily because you're more concerned with cards that are coming out right now. So we're going to talk about that. Specifically, we're talking about battling parallel fatigue with a new vintage project. And we're also going to do a little baseball card trivia. We got one of those awesome questions coming up. Of course, that means you have a chance at winning a sports card, a pretty cool sports card. This one comes from 1969 Topps, by the way. I like it a lot. And of course, we're going to share Patrick's rookie card collecting tips. So first, let's talk about this parallel fatigue. I'm 53 years old. That basically, technically, I'm considered a vintage project already, right? When I returned to the hobby as a newbie, I like to call it, in 2020, I felt a rush of nostalgia. I think a lot of you might agree with me on that. It reminded me of my Little League days of playing catch with my dad, collecting cards with my brothers, and watching Braves and Cubs games every summer afternoon on the superstations, WGN and TBS. Come on, that was every teenager in the 80s. That's what we had. That was pretty awesome, especially for me in Florida. I didn't have a team, so I got to watch them. I even felt nostalgia for the 2000s when I was a senior fantasy baseball writer for CBS Sports. All of those feels, they had me thinking about players I grew up admiring, like Andre Dawson, Tony Gwynn, and players I wrote about, guys like Ichiro Suzuki and Chase Utley. Now, while the current superstars are fun to collect, and opening boxes of new cards is always awesome, that never gets old, I do often miss the days of hobby yesteryear, when a player would get one card on the checklist. Of course, unless he was an all-star, then he'd get that second card. The hobby just used to be a simpler landscape. I think you'd agree with me, especially if you're like me and you return to the hobby. This is a hobby we're nostalgic about before logo fractors, silver hollows, relics, and numbered parallels, too many to number. It makes me think of like one of those advertisements like, do you often suffer from paralysis? A loss of voluntary hobby movement caused by too many different versions of the same Topps card. Yeah, that's what I felt like. It was a little much for me, right? Well, this caused me to look past some other options to keep my hobby happiness rolling in my heart. Over the past few months, I've begun to read, write, and research more about pre-vintage baseball cards. So I've decided to dip my toes in a little bit into the deep end and build up my own small vintage baseball card collection. So why should you consider getting into pre-war vintage baseball cards? Let me tell you. Now, I've backfilled with most of the superstars in my lifetime. My collection that I show up on my wall up here, it's most of the rookie cards or the best cards I could get of the players I've admired from my childhood and even the legends from my father's childhood. Not like there's a rookie Mantle, but I do have a Mickey Mantle. Not like I have a rookie Willie Mays, but I do have a Willie Mays. So I've kind of already tapped into those, and as I've begun to build out my website and my YouTube channel with some sports card history discussions, I've kind of started to want to look back even further. Does that make sense? This research has really piqued my interest as I've looked up pricing on these pre-war vintage cards. I never thought I could have afforded them, but after I looked up the prices, I was pretty surprised. From Allen and Ginter to T206, from Gaudi to Crackerjack, I discovered their prices aren't out of reach. And many people are already paying way more money for a prospect card that's just numbered to 150. Then they hope that that prospect makes the leap to the majors and then continues that leap all the way into the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's a lot of leaping. Did you know that just 1% of all players who have ever played in Major League Baseball have been inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame? 1%. I'm generally a risk-averse person by nature, which made me realize buying players who have already gotten into the Baseball Hall of Fame is smarter. It's wiser for my wallet and my collection than loading up on young, upside studs. Don't get me wrong. I still buy blasters and I buy some singles of younger players. But the days of buying Bowman first slabs of Wander Franco, they're long behind me, thankfully. So in many cases, you can get graded Hall of Fame players on 100-year-old cardboard for $100 or less. That's less than I paid for a 2025 Topps Heritage Hobby Box. Can you believe that? I mean, really, this is a fact. I was as surprised as you are. So I created a type collector game plan. In a recent article by Patrick M. Hoff, where he asked the question, what type of sports card collector are you? I realized I am a type collector. That means I want one example of a player or a year or a set, etc. And I don't feel the need to complete the set or even to complete a full player's run, like all of the Mickey Mantle cards. I just want one good one. Basically, I want the best, youngest, or best earliest card I can get at the best grade at which I can get it of each player. So once I have a Willie Mays that I'm happy with, then I can move on to other cards. And once I have a Roberto Clemente that I'm happy with, I can move on to another card. So that's the type collector that we're talking about. Now, knowing that I'm a type collector, that helps me understand that collecting certain pre-war cards is part of my natural progression as a sports card collector. But saying I want to collect pre-war vintage cards is actually a pretty broad statement, right? When you think about it like that. There are many different sets and types of cards you can collect, even before just the 50s. I had to decide which sets I would like to get closer to. So here's my game plan going forward. I'll share that with you. Here are the sets that I'm eyeing, and I've actually already begun picking up a few of these. 1887 Allen and Ginter. Now this was the dawn of sports cards. 1909 T206 cigarette cards. This is one of the most famous baseball card sets ever. Honus Wagner? Yeah, I'm not going to have one of those, but I can get another card from that set for under $100. 1911 T205 gold border Piedmont cards. These are just strikingly beautiful sets of cards. 1915 Crackerjack, one of the most expensive sets from which I'd like to get a card. That one's not going to be under $100. For me to get a 1915 Crackerjack with my criteria, it's going to cost me more than $100 for those. But that's a future problem. 1933 Gaudy. I'm probably not going to get a Lou Gehrig or a Babe Ruth, but I can get a different Gaudy and decent price as well. 1939 Play Ball. That was Jacob Bowman's brand before 1948 Bowman, the company that would help usher in the modern sports card era along with Topps. And then finally 1948-49 Leaf. While it's called 1948 Leaf, many of the cards discuss things that actually happened in 1948, and they have 1949 copyrights on the back, so it's really more of a 1949 set. So while some of the sets above that I just mentioned are technically after World War II, I'm basically classifying everything pre-Topps as pre-war. We'll say it like that. Now here's my checklist, my criteria for the cards or players I'd like to buy to represent each of those sets. 1, it has to be graded above authentic. I don't want just an authentic card. I want it graded above that. 2, I would like it graded by SGC. Part of the reason for that is SGC has beautiful tuxedo slabs. They're known for their vintage grading, and also it'll keep the uniformity with all of these cards, because I'm probably going to do a separate display from these just for my pre-war vintage cards. The player has to be a Hall of Famer. Now, that's not going to happen with the 1887 Allen and Ginter, because there's only a couple cards. There's only like 10 baseball cards in that set, and of the few that are good, they're $1 bajillion. So I'm not going to be getting those guys. So the Hall of Famer part outside. Now I can get Hall of Famer from 1909, and I did under $100. Let's see, more characteristics. There has to be an interesting story about the player. The player can't just be a guy. I want there to be something interesting about him. Why? Because I do content. I do videos, and I want to share with you an interesting story about this player. Why is this card interesting? Also, I want the front surface to look good. So if it's a low grade, that's fine. But I want the front surface of that card to look nice. Let the back be all jacked up. That's fine. I want the front to look nice. And finally, the player should look like he's from that era. Does that make sense? In other words, I want, a guy with the curlicue mustache, in the 1800s. That's just how I envision it. That's just how I'd like it. So I'm going to detail over the summer what I've done so far. I'll detail it in this podcast and in the newsletter. I'm also going to share what challenges I'm facing, and I'll go through some of what my options are and what lessons I'm learning along the way. So let me know if you have any pre-war vintage cards yourself in your collection and what they mean to you. I'll drop it in the comments of the video, or if you want to send it to me at gonoscards@gmail.com. All right, so we're talking about this pre-war. Let's talk about rookies. Patrick's rookie card collecting tips. Number 1, pay attention to players coming off bad seasons. Even the best players go through slumps, and collectors are often quick to dismiss them. A young player, say 24 years old or less, who had a great rookie season followed by a poor sophomore season, can still be a great rookie card to chase. Look at their numbers in the minors, and if all looks good, don't be afraid to take a chance. I'm fully on board with this because there's a lot of reasons why his sophomore season could have been a speed bump. Just adjusting to his fame. Suddenly he was a superstar or whatever on his ball club, and it's a change in life. Just moving, changing his whole world. He got moved. Maybe he got called up mid-season the previous year. In the off season now, he's taking on commercials. He's taking on endorsements. Life changes. So once this happens in all the sports, the sophomore slump, a lot of times they take a step back because a lot's put on them, and then they have to regroup and go back to what got them where they want to go. Number 2, pay attention to players coming off of injuries. Now, injuries are part of the game, and sometimes rookies get hurt after a call-up, and they can miss an entire season. Pay attention to what type of injury it is and the history of that injury. Did they get hurt in the minors and college as well? Or is this just a one-off? Look for players with the one-off injuries and take a chance on them, especially if they look good in spring training or in the minors on a rehab stint. Number 3, early rookie debuts. When injuries strike veteran players, sometimes a guy in AA or AAA gets an early call-up. This can lead to that same player getting a rookie card in the next season release. Collectors often discard these players since they're still relatively unknown. But if you know the story, you can get a great card before anyone else realizes the potential. Number 4, trade deadline deals. At the deadline each year, at the end of July, bad teams often trade their stars to good teams for prospects. Now, if you can anticipate a trade from a smaller market team to a collector's market like LA or New York City, you can get some increased value out of that player's rookie card. Once again, Patrick often shares his Patrick's Prime Prospect picks in our episode, in our podcast episodes, in our newsletter. And that's where he chooses a first Bowman card with possible upside. So stay tuned for those. By the way, I just want to share this with you. Don't forget to check out our No CT giveaway. no CT. So it's, if you go to nocity.co, you'll see what they sell, but these are basically shipping supplies for your slabs. So we're giving away 10 slab mailers, which are the cardboard boxes that you can put your slabs into, and it protects the slab really well. It's almost like a sleeve. It's a cardboard sleeve for your slab, and then you put that cardboard sleeve, it's a box, into a bubble mailer. So you're getting 10 bubble mailers and 10 slab mailers. What you need to do, though, is either, if you're watching the video, go to my video on this giveaway, or if you're in the podcast, you also want to go over to YouTube and check that video out, or you can just email me at gonoscards@gmail.com and put in the subject header, No City Giveaway, and you'll be entered. Basically, that's what I'm doing, is I want to make sure all the people that are subscribed to my podcast, all the people that are subscribed to the newsletter, people that are subscribed to my YouTube channel, all get a chance to win this giveaway. So remember, check those out. You want to get in on that. Baseball card trivia. Let's talk baseball cards. If you answer this question correctly, you could win this free card. 1969 Topps Johnny Padres, number 659. Why is this card special? His name is Padres, and he plays for the Padres. This is the only time when he played for the Padres. He got his card. It says Padres and Padres. I just love that. That's awesome. Johnny Padres was a big deal too. Go check out the Brooklyn Dodgers fans. Well, here's the question. Answer this question. Shoot it to me at gonoscards@gmail.com. What was the month and year of the very first Beckett Baseball magazine? What was the month and year of that issue? Send it to gonoscards@gmail.com. Get in on that. You could win this 1969 Topps Johnny Padres card. Also, oh, by the way, so you want to answer this question before Friday midnight, May 16th. The winner is going to be announced in the May 22nd newsletter. So stay tuned for that. Listen, that's it. That's the whole podcast. It's a shorty. It's not too lengthy, this one. I hope you enjoyed it. Shoot me a note if you have some podcast ideas, if you have some stuff you'd like me to share. Send it to gonoscards@gmail.com or comment in the YouTube channel. Well, next week we're going to do some more fun stuff. We got build a great card collection in 5 steps. Is it possible? Well, I mean, it has to be, because that's what we did. That's what we named it. So we got to figure out how to do it in 5. We'll probably also do some baseball card trivia, so stay tuned for that. Listen, whatever you do, make sure you have a happy hobby.